Hello everyone, in this video we are going to see about the classes and methods in Java. We all know that Java is an object-oriented language where it has applications with the classes and objects. So now let us see what is a class in Java. A class is a group of objects which have common properties. It is a template or a blueprint from which objects are created. It is a logical entity, it cannot be physical. Actually, what does it mean is the class is a pattern or the template on which the objects can be created. For example, you say a class of fruits. So the fruits, a class of fruits have some properties, common properties. Okay, so now on that we can create many objects like an apple and banana and orange. So they are all the objects. So each fruit has its own property and also the common property. So the class is a blueprint or a pattern by which the objects are defined. Okay, so now that's why we are calling it as a logical entity. So it is a logical in the sense it is in existing in the logical sense. When you create objects, that will become the physical sense. Okay, so now here a class in a Java can contain fields, methods, constructors, blocks, nested class and interface. So actually what is a field is there are the data. When you say a student record, the fields are the name, registered number, age, date of birth. So those are the fields, there are the data. And what is the methods is methods are the functions or the behaviors. So here we can read the data, we can write the data, we can print the data, we can calculate the values. These are all the methods. What is the constructor is a special method in Java in any object-oriented language to initialize the objects of the class. So that is the constructor which has the same name as the class name. And blocks, so any Java program has the blocks of information. So every block will have some functions to do. They are all the modules, also we can call it as the modules. And then nested class and interface. So a class can have multiple classes inside. It is called as a nested class, and the interface is a collection of many methods which can be implemented in the class. Okay, so these are all the common components of a class. So let us see one by one. Next, the how to declare the class. So the class can be declared as class, this is the keyword, and this is the class name. This class name is an user defined name. We can give any name of our choice, then open the flat bracket and then field method. That means field is also called data or member, and method is also called the methods or a member method or a function. Okay, so let us see an example of this definition of the class, how to declare the class. So class, the keyword is given, class, and then the student is the name of the class. And we have to be very careful that here the names, everything is case sensitive. That means capital letters and small letters have different meaning. And then open the brace, int id. So int is the data type of this id, and string name. So name is the variable under the data type string. So this class contains only two data, int id and string name. Okay, so it is also possible that the class can have only data without the methods and other functions. Okay, so we can define the class in this way also. Let us see what is an object. Object is an instance of a class. One instance of a class creates an object. So that's why this object is called as a runtime entity. Once you create it, once you run it, once you instance it, it is called as an object instantiation. Creating an object for a class is called as an instantiation of an object. So it is called as a runtime entity. It is also called as a real world entity because every entity can be represented by an object. When you say a vehicle, okay, a car, a plane, a train, and then when a fruit, when you say an apple, an orange, so those objects, they are all the real world entity. So this object oriented concept came into existence in order to reflect the real world entity applications, how to perform the real world applications. For that reason only this object concept came into existence. And then an object is an entity, it can have a state and a behavior. For example, an object, a car, it is in the stop state, it is in the still state. Now it can move, so it is a behavior. It can run in a low speed, it can run in a high speed. So an object is an entity which has the state as well as the behavior. That means the behavior of the object changes the states, so it goes into state by state. And then it is also, we can define as an object is an instance of a class. That means we are initiating a instance, that is called as an instance of a class. So object is also called as an instance of a class. And let us see how to create the class for an object for a class. So student is the class name, S1 is the object name, equal to new is the memory operator to create the memory space for the class student, and then the class name, semicolon. So this is the syntax. So the class name followed by the object name. This is a variable. This is also a variable name given in the class. This is also a variable name given by the user for object, and new is the keyword that should be as it is, and then again the class name. We can also create more number of objects for a class. That's what I given two objects here, S1 and S2 for the same class student. So we can create many number of objects for a single class. Okay, so now how to initialize an object? Why to initialize? The object data may have some initial values. In order to give the initial values for those data, we have three methods. One is by reference variable, other is by method, and the last method is by constructor. Let us see one by one how that values can be initialized for an object. So this is the example for by reference variable. So now the class is given, class student int id string name. The class definition is over. Now next class, as we have seen, Java is a collection of many classes. Here one more class is there, class test student 2. This is a variable name. The user can keep the name as he wish based upon the application. So the program starts public static void main. This is the normal entry of the Java program, which has the defined syntax to be followed, and then we are just starting with our application. So we are creating an object S1 for the class student using the new operator. Now let us see what is our point here is we are going to create a initialize the value for the object using the reference variable. So we are using this s1.id is equal to 101. So we are using the member access operator called the dot, and we are giving the variables. s1.id is equal to 101, a value is given. s1.name is equal to some name, it is given. So just we are giving the printing statement to print the value as s1.id plus is to combine or concatenate so many variables on the print statement. So s1 space s1.name. So this line will print the id space name of the particular student. So this is one way to initialize the values for the object. So the object contains two variables, id and name. So id and name, they are given the values 101 and this sono is the name. It is given using the member access operator. This is one way of initializing the value to the objects. Next one is how to do it through the method. So we have seen that method is a function. So here class student, the same class is defined here, class student, integer, roll number, string name. So two variables for this class, two data for this class student. Now we are going to initialize the values for these values, which is the data of the class or the member of the class, using this method. What is the method here? Insert record is the method. So insert record is a function or a method which carries the values for the data to be initialized for the object. So int r string n. So this int r and string n comes from some other way through this parameter of this insert record function. Now r is brought inside to the function and it is assigned to roll number. So you can see here this method insert record brought the value r to the variable name roll number, to the data roll number. Likewise, this insert record r is a method that brought the value string n from somewhere, maybe through the input from the user, and that value n is assigned to the name variable. This is the name variable. So this is the example of how to initialize the data object, that is the data of the object using the method using the method. And then next one is how to use it through the constructor. Now this is another example of how to initialize the values for the variable of the object using the constructor. Let us know first what is a constructor. Constructor is a method that has the same name as the class. The constructor automatically initializes the value of the variables if it is not given. If you mention, that is called as a parameterized constructor. So parameterized constructor carries some data through the function, constructor function, and then that value will be assigned to the data of the object. So you can see here int id and string name. So id and name are the two data here. How the value is brought? Int I and string n. Where it has come? It has come from the function student4. What is this function student4? This is the same name of the function having the class name. That means this is a constructor which constructs the variable. That means it initiates the variable automatically on its own. That is a property of constructor. But in this case, it is a parameterized constructor which carries the value I and n and pass it to the variables id and name. So these are all the three ways we can initialize the value for an object of an data of an object. And then methods. What is a method? Method is a collection of statements that we have seen in the earlier programming languages. It is a collection of method, a collection of statements. It is also called as a function. Okay, function or subprogram. So that way here a Java method is a collection of statements that are grouped together to perform an operation. So they have some related function. For example, a function that reads the data, that reads all the data of a program. Then we say a print function that print all the data of the particular program. And then processing is another function. It will process all the data. So group of functions related together and they are put it in one block. That is called as an method or an function. So in Java we call it as a method. So how to define the method? Modifier, return type, name of the method, parameter list. Okay, so this is the way we can define the method. Okay, so now here, so modifier is maybe a public static, so that way we can use this int or main and int or string, whatever the character type, and name of method is the name of the function, and this is the parameter list, that is the arguments. And then we have to write the statements of the function, what it is going to do. So this is where we can define the method in Java. So now what is the use of this method? This method helps to expose the behavior of an object. We have seen that an object consists of data as well as functions. Okay, so how to expose the behavior of an object? That is through the function. If we say a car has some behavior of running, how to expose it? We have to drive the car, so we have to expose the behavior. That is done through the function. And what is the advantage of these methods? Because we are using the methods, we can reuse the code, and by this way we can optimize the code also. So one code is written for a function. If the same function is needed for some other situation, we can use the same function. That is the advantage of the methods. So methods mainly used for reusability, and it also helps for the code optimization. So when we are we are not using the repeated data, naturally repeated statements of lines, naturally we are also reducing the variable reference also. In that case, the optimization will be done in the memory view also. Okay, so now let us see how to access those members. In order to access those data and the member, we have an operator called member access operator. This is the member dot is the member access operator. So this helps to access the data, members and the methods of a class by its objects. Let us see the example. Public static void main, it is the starting of the program. So demo is the class name. This is given previously in the program, just I given only a part of the program. Demo is the class name and obj is the object name. New is the creator of the creating function. It's a function to create a new memory area for the class template, and then my class is the class name. So it is going to create a template of this kind, and then it is invoking the abstract method. So how to it is invoking obj.display. So obj is the object name, display is the function name that is defined somewhere else in the program in the previous part. We are just calling this display function by this member access operator on the object. So we can apply these functions on any objects inside the or outside the class depending upon the class access specifiers. So now the point here is the dot is the member access operator which helps to obtain the data as well as the function for the object. Okay, so that's all. So these are all the ways, the features of Java which helps to the user to develop many applications, and thanks for watching.